And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Record of Sword Forged Worlds, the unofficial Sword World podcast. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have four of my good brothers and sisters. Ha 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 ha. We have the man losing arguments with himself and cursed to hear the screaming banshee that is Steve Tangle every week. Good brother Hydra.
If you listen carefully, you can actually hear him scream across all of North America.
We have the master of the Wanderer's Library, good brother Sig.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. I'm ready to continue my studies.
We have our resident sheep gremlin, good sister Maki.
Hello. I am the sword-forged sheep. I am here as a diversity hire called Maki. I will await my diversity paycheck this Wednesday.
Your diversity paycheck will come in bison dollars. And of
Nice.
I think that's offensive to sheep.
And of course, the man of 1,000 runes, the CEO of Zadari Enterprises, and the bane of my fucking existence, good brother Xanatrix.
I stole Tai Chi from a bear and threw it into a boulder. And I did it with a box of scraps.
So, last week we delved into quite a few of the nations and factions within the realm of Alecrast. Now, obviously, there's a few places like Chaos Land and Farland that we didn't go over, although we kind of did, but only briefly, because one of them, the support for it is in a replay that I don't have, and in the other case, it is meant to be a blank slate. However, one region that was not covered extensively is the region known as the 10 Children. A collection of 10 city-states on the far western side of the Alecrast continent. They are referred to as such because these city-states are a kind of, I guess confederation. They have their own independence, and they're only majorly unified in the sense of keeping the other nations out of their area. The term 10 children was used derisively for them, but they ended up claiming the term, and it's stuck ever since.
Nothing like using a slur as a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm. Now, for those of you who have the PDF, and as an aside, I do want to give thanks once again to Riona for the splash screen that you guys are seeing right now. It's worth noting that, unlike the Alecrast World Guide, they did not have Amano do the art for this. The art for this particular book, which has a far more traditional manga style compared to the Alecrast World Guide. And also a bit varied in terms of the cultures represented. let me see if I can. So there is some art. There is some art done by Amano, but a lot of art is done by a lot of other people, and the cover is done by Sei Ito. But there's about a dozen or about half a dozen other artists who worked on things, and this is a unique thing. Now, the other name for this book is the Western Countries World Guide, but obviously, since it focuses on the 10 children, that's the name that's going to be used. Now, one of the things that I do have to note is a lot of the regions that we're going to be going into, the details of them and the ideas of them were submitted by fans. So this means that the 10 children region, in terms of what it brings to the table, is going to be a bit more hinged. Or a little bit less hinged, I say. Not full on unhinged, but certainly hinged. And you can, I think a very big case of that is the art style being one that isn't far removed from what you would expect from a lot of the OVAs coming out of the 90s. Some of the art is still Amano's, but not as much of it as before. And there is a nice little chronological table to go over as far as the history of the Western countries. It is still in Alecrast, so it is still using the New Kingdom calendar. So there's going to be some similarities to what we saw a couple weeks ago. I know you weren't here, but since Maki wasn't here for that episode, Zan, would you mind being the evangelist and giving a bit of a skinny on some aspects of Alecrast that we covered in the last episode?
I do mind because I've already forgotten.
Never, all right then. But point is, Alecrast is a continent that has gone through a lot of upheaval over the centuries, and continues to go through significant upheavals with.
And on today's episode of Goldfish Chronicles.
Goldfish Chronicles. No. It's just that with as much as it changes, you can't remember every detail.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the history of the U.S.
But obviously, the new calendar still starts with the first year, the end of the rule of the Ancient Kingdom, the beginning of the Warring States period. But the first proper
Warring States.
Yeah, the first proper event in the Western Kingdoms was in year 183, where Roy Billiard, yes, I know, exiled King Ejka I of Malayam, took the throne himself, and established the Duchy of Bor.
So, a man who plays pool got rid of an edgelord and created a boring country. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Although there is a translator's note that that in the Billiard family tree chart, the name is sometimes misspelled as Ijunka IV. Probably a typography error. In year 215, Maesel I destroyed Old Simon and unified the West. The name of that country was changed to Zante. Then, in 253, Duchess Nyafest ascended the throne and created the Duchy of Zarn. In 319, the Chaos War begins, and then ends about about 2 years later, with the death of Grax. Then 2 years after that, Civil War broke out. Tydel surrendered. King Maesel IV dies. Though it might be a typography error because in other books it's King Maesel VI. But
4, 6, they look very, very, very similar in Roman numerals. They're just transversed.
Yep. Then, in 324, Mavaro I declares independence and New Simon is established. In about a year later, Duke Michael of Zarn ascends the throne and Eastern Zante is established. A year later, Eastern Zante recognizes the independence of Simon, and thus the 5 duchies of Eastern Zante are established.
Remember that one of those duchies is still boring.
Yep. 24 years later, the Road of the Free People connects the eastern and western parts of Alecrast together. We talked about the Road of the Free People two weeks ago.
Yep.
In 369, about 19 years later, Mavaro III, known as the Inept King, launches the construction of a huge dungeon.
Why is he trying to outdo Baron Sukhumvit?
My question is, how is he inept if he actually gets that dungeon completed?
Probably because everyone else is even worse.
In year 373, Daka I conquered Referral, and that caused the fall of the Duchy of Simon.
I bet he did it with guns.
Yep. 2 years later, the 5 duchies end up going through a coup d'etat. Leonard is exiled, and thus becomes known as the Exiled King, and Zante begins its downfall. In 377, Leonard's son, Albus II, ascends the throne of Tydel. The 6 cities of Eastern Zante become independent. A year later, the civil war in Simon ends, and the 3 cities of Simon become independent. Then, a year later, the city-state of Raban is established. The following year, it becomes a full-on kingdom. There's not a whole lot of events for a few decades until year 430, where a submarine earthquake occurs in Coria Bay, and the town of Belladine is devastated by a tsunami.
Yeah, tsunamis will do that.
Yep. Though Belladine would be reconstructed 20 years later, thanks to King Leo, who gained the title of the Reconstructing King for that, which being able to repair a town with this kind of tech level in 20 years, that's pretty impressive, I'd say.
And lots of manpower.
I think he used illegal and unknown magics.
Hello.
But
Either that or the problem. No, never mind. Carry on.
But then in 489, we have the First Great Coria War. The Sea Dragon Swordswoman Lars unites the pirates of Coria Bay. So the piracy problem is something that's not unique to the northeastern part of Alecrast. In year 500, the Tydel Alliance, a mutual security guarantee against foreign enemies, is established. I'd say in year 500, this is where the term the 10 Children establishes itself.
10 children.
A year later, Belladine does an expedition team to Chaos Land. Only one person came back. In 505, we have the Second Great Coria War and the establishment of the Pirates Guild. And in 513, Ajafan the Pirate King besieged the Gulgris castle. And in 521, the Chaos Land route is discovered. So there is a route from the 10 Children to Chaos Land, though most people aren't going to be taking that. Now, it should be noted that the start date within the Alecrast guide and the 10 Children guide are different years. For the Alecrast guide, it was assumed year 520 was the start date.
Is there a specific reason for that?
I don't think a reason was given, but that's the endpoint of the history we have for the Alecrast guide that we covered 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
And that is 1 year before the Thieves' Rhapsody trilogy, which takes place in year 521. The start date for the 10 Children material is 523.
Mm-hmm.
And admittedly, there are some novels that supposedly take place after 520, but only a handful of those novels have been translated by Gilgamesh and his crew. Now, as mentioned, and I do want to quote this from the introduction of the 10 Children guide, many of the ideas in this book are based on letters from readers of the monthly Dragon magazine, Fujimi Shobo. The names of the contributors are listed at the end of this book. I would also like to thank Makiko Kimura, a member of Group SNE, who took on the arduous responsibility of entering those huge amounts of data. Taking this opportunity, I wish to express my sincere thanks to all of you for your cooperation.
Yep.
And now just so everyone's on the same relative page.
I'm on the same actual page.
Same.
I'm going to share with some of you a map of sorts for the 10 Children when my images load proper.
Is it the map that's in the book?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I can see it pretty clearly.
Mm-hmm. I won't be able to show it on the stream because it's going to involve futzing around with a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right.
But let me... here we go. So this is the color map of the 10 Children.
Politics.
I was about to say, that's in the book, I see.
Yeah.
And I've got the black and white one pulled up from the book itself.
Yep.
Buraku.
So you have the everlasting cold of Promisee and the everlasting summer of Gilgaris. So once again, we have when we talked about Alecrast's cosmology, we had briefly touched on the fact that there are these elemental gates at each of the extremes of the compass.
When I look at Sea of Ice, I have a phrase in my brain. A guard above screams. Mar, someone left the fridge open.
Yep.
Yep. But what I find kind of interesting with the history of the 10 Children is it started out as nations like others, and then devolved into, I won't say devolved isn't the right word, but transitioned into city-states.
Yep. they're ancient Greece all over again, baby.
But there are the Western countries is the 10 children is the name for the 10 city-states that are on the western plains of Alecrast. Promesie, Tydel, Tolerant, Raban, Beldine, Gugaris, Zarn, Goba, Raferi, and Dreknal.
I think it's referral.
This is why you put in a pronunciation guide in your books, people.
Well, no, you read the L as an I think is the issue. But yeah, I don't want a pronunciation guide. I just want to see the original Japanese. Maki, do you have this content page with the original katakana on it? Because I'd love to be able to see the actual pronunciations. Putting Maki on the spot.
That's the unfortunate part. I had lost my 1.0 books. Like
No!
5 years ago.
No!
In fire.
No!
Ooh,
That is...
unfortunate.
That's not unfortunate, that's travesty, that is crime. We will find the fire and punish it.
And
You punish fire.
God damn it, Riona.
Very easy. Oh god, what did Riona do this time?
She said this just is silent.
Yeah, I had a
Okay.
small house fire. And I actually lost like 10 books.
Man.
Like I said, we will find the fire and punish it. And you punish fire very carefully, Zig.
Well,
Very
I'm human.
carefully.
You're the one who's got the immunity, so,
So,
you
like-
first.
Bad boy whips at the ground. Like that.
No, more like slowly starves it of oxygen until it's begging for more.
Yeah, because all I have is wind magic.
At least if you
I see.
At least if you have wind magic, you can you never have to worry about anyone saying blow me to you.
Fuck off.
But now the big reason for the essentially the security alliance that the city-states have is I think a lot of them saw the tumult that was going on with all of the eastern countries, and like, we don't want any of that shit over here. Especially since the 10 children, for what is ultimately a very small part, a relatively smaller part of Alecrast, is very, very diverse. Both
And it's
ethnically
also
and
full of
culturally.
political intrigue.
Mm-hmm. So, obviously to the north you have Prom Bay, also known as the Sea of Ice. The power of ice spirits is very strong here, so it is windstir all the damn time, even in summer. The bay is covered with ice plains.
Basically, Alaska.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Though it also means that Undine type spirit magic is impossible to use in the waters of Prom Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, under the ice, there's plenty of fish, so a good food source for the giant seals, polar bears, orcas, and other predators living there, as well as the
So
locals.
the food chain's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And a few mythical and magical beasts that can only live in those sort of cold regions. So be
Like
careful.
penguins.
I'm not doing the Morgan Freeman voice, so don't even ask.
So So first comment first. Monk is just Fimbulwinter. Second comment second. Completely unrelated to Sword World, but related to things that have elemental spirits such as Undine in them. God damn it, Square Enix. Why did you rename Jin to Sylphid in the Secret of Mana remake when the Japanese voice track clearly still calls it Jin? Fuck you. Yes, that was a completely unnecessary and yet completely necessary tangent. But finally, penguins aren't mythical, though they are mystical.
Yes. When I am thinking of the kind of mythical beast that might be in Prom Bay, I'm thinking of the kind of things that Norse sailors would have been scared shitless of.
Jotun.
You know, especially
Anything frozen was blamed on the Jotun.
Mm-hmm. But you also have plenty of forest and tundra around the bay where you have reindeer, wolves, and bears. So it really is Alecrast, Alaska.
Reindeer, wolves, and bears. I mean, that just sounds like the entire Arctic Circle.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, Arctic and Antarctic do not in fact denote north and south, but with bears and without bears. Arctic comes from Arsis.
Mm-hmm.
Or Arcus.
Yep.
Something like that. So Antarctic means without. And if you check, this is probably true. I don't know if there are any I'm pretty sure there are no polar bears on Antarctica.
Given some of the storms that happen in Antarctica, I don't think it would be all that conducive.
Yeah. No. They
Especially some of those Category 1 storms that are so bad you are not allowed to leave any buildings.
Yeah.
Not that you would want to. when there's a small hill's worth of snow covering the door and everything around it.
That's just Minnesota winter.
And some Canadian areas as well.
But within the western side of Promisay, there is the Sea of Cold Mud, which it is still very cold, but it is not as cold as Prom Bay is. There's a lot of islands of various sizes that are covered in shrubs interspersed with waterways. So I guess you could say the Sea of Cold Mud is a giant cold swamp.
It sounds delicious.
It is impossible to cross on foot because of all the rivers and all the quagmires there.
Or maybe I'm just thinking of Mississippi mud pie.
The narrowness of the waterways makes it impossible for larger vessels to navigate, so the only way you're getting around in the Sea of Cold Mud is canoes. Naturally, the only animals you're going to find there are flyers or swimmers.
Let's say they don't have geese.
Oh, they might have geese. You never know.
Yep.
Geese might just be a type of Yoma, though.
No, they are a bane upon the land.
The Sea of Cold Mud was also a battleground for the Chaos Land War, but because of the low water temperature, the dozens and dozens of Yoma and humanoid soldier corpses that are found there don't decay but are mummified.
Yes.
And keep in mind, the Chaos Land War was at the present time 200 years ago.
Yes. Mummification is a great way to preserve a body.
Mm-hmm. But Then, of course, you have the Yasgarn Mountains, which are at the northeast of the region. It's the main thing that keeps the cold winds from Promenade from going southward. So anyone heading north from Tydal will all of a sudden go, did it just get cold around here or something?
Unless they're Minnesotan, then they'll be like, oh, we're home.
Mm-hmm. And
Or above.
Surprise, surprise, Promenade has iron mining as a major industry thanks to the Yasgarn Mountains.
That is some coinky dink.
Mm-hmm. Now, halfway between Promenade and Tydal is the Delval Woods, which there used to be a fortress in the middle of these forests back in the days of the ancient kingdoms. Underneath it, they were conducting experiments for creating magical beasts.
Forest fortress. Try saying that 5 times fast.
Mm-hmm. But since the fall of the ancient kingdom, the place has become a dangerous magical labyrinth. And even the forest itself has enchanted to become a labyrinth to keep people from getting inside that fortress.
I've just decided that a labyrinth inside a forest where there is an old potential fortress needs to have a king. And if it's a dark forest and we're looking at dark creatures from forested areas of the world, and they need to be goblins, this would make him a goblin king.
And he had to invoke David. Wait, God.
I didn't say the Goblin King's name was Jareth. Your assumptions, good sir.
I said David Bowie. I never said Jareth.
But who did David Bowie play in Labyrinth?
Yes.
Jareth, the Goblin King.
Spencer Fortress in a forest with another fortress under it.
And now we're invoking Biohazard 2?
I mean, we could continue to invoke things, but if we invoke too many things, I have a feeling it'll be turtles all the way down.
Yeah,
I didn't come ready for a fight today, but apparently that's what I have to do.
Sig, this is the fucking monastery. You better prepare for them back alley scuffles every day.
I know.
Because after all,
at least
Monk,
twice a day.
Monk, we didn't hear no bell, right?
Pretty much. That and the monastery is not and never has been one of those self-proclaimed safe spaces. We are an unsafe space because
I am sure the fights will be chilling.
Don't even get me started, Monkey.
But the magic that had kept the defenses alive were maintained by 4 orbs at 4 different corners of the forest. Those orbs, however, have been scattered, the magic has been lost, and the fortress was ransacked of treasures by adventurers and forgotten until recently. Because a priestess named Livel had restored its magic, and in year 521, with the help of a sorcerer named Burnus, had gathered the 4 orbs and turned the fortress into a labyrinth again. The main goal for it was to keep the fortress out of the public eye. She has been trying to reform the children of the Yoma and mythical beasts who had lost their parents at the Delva Fortress. Basically trying to reform monsters. So far,
And it seems to be working.
Yeah. There is also a temple up to Faris that is interested in Livel's endeavor and supports it in secret, despite denominational differences. I.e., if even monsters can be taught justice, it would be one hell of an achievement. Of course,
I mean, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm not some rampaging monster.
Of course,
That's because we throw alcohol at you.
Don't be silly. Given my sheer size, I could probably drink half the stuff in the weak stuff here in the bar and not to get close to being drunk.
We have the golden sake of the gods. Just like Yamato no Orochi, you will be drunk.
Oh, I will be drunk, but you're gonna have to put the good old college try to get me there.
remember, even a brick
Regardless.
can fly if you throw it hard enough. But
And just like
Regardless,
Yamato no Orokai, you may just have far too much head.
There's no such thing as too many heads for a Hydra.
I'm walking away from this right now.
and
I
anyway,
would agree with Hydra that there's no such thing as too much head, but for a completely different reason.
God damn it.
back on the
Dan!
We can, if you'd like to demonstrate with me, Maki, I need a willing partner.
but rails. The project is not widely known, aside from a handful of people, because if it was learned that a priestess was trying to reform monsters, that would probably cause a bit of a stir. But
Yeah, no
rumors
kidding.
are spreading, and Lyvel has been getting more and more support. A few days each month, the orbs are removed from the pedestals that keep people from coming into the forest, and a few collaborators are allowed in. Any other days, no one can go in. It is kind of like the protections in the Forest of No Return, which we'll get to in a couple weeks. Because for most people,
Or like
if they
Willy
try-
Wonka's. I was gonna say or like Willy Wonka's factory.
Yeah. Most of the time when people try to go in the forest, they end up on the other end of it.
We circled the forest, but how? We were walking in a straight line. Magic!
Yep. Now, also nearby the Ysgarn Mountains is Lake Manhal.
I think that's Manal.
Manal. The northeastern shore is part of Ophun, the southeastern is Fandria, and the western shore is unaffiliated.
Ugh, territorial disputes must be a big thing then.
Well, there are rumors that this lake can cure any illness.
Oh. It would still make for an interesting adventure, at least in that point, because who wouldn't want to control something that can cure any illness?
Yeah. Whether or not it does is up in the air. A lot of people probably think that because of the large fish that live in the lake and the fact that the people living on its shores are all very healthy. But it's never been confirmed whether or not there's anything special in the waters. But you know how
Could
how
just
it
be
is.
that the people who live on the shore live a healthy lifestyle.
Mhm. And from this lake, you have the origin point of the Baku River, which goes westward to the north of Tidal and into Prom Bay proper. So you've got a route. So you have that route if you want to head northward.
At least until you hit that mud again.
Yep. However, and while the Ysgarn Mountains are, sorry, not the Ysgarn, the Yasgarn Mountains are certainly one of the larger mountain ranges. They aren't the largest in this region. That would be the Crossnow Mountains, which is the highest mountain range in Alecrast, hence its nickname, the Ladder to the Sky. But
Ladder to the sky, throat of the world, whatever else you want to
Yeah.
call these tall-ass mountain ranges.
however, they have more of a gentle slope as opposed to the sheer cliffs of the Yasgarn Mountains. A lot of plateaus, a lot of valleys, which makes for a more diverse wildlife. It also means there's an abundant amount of goblins and other monsters, but that's going to come with the territory.
Where's the Goblin Slayer when you need him?
In a
Make
different
one.
world.
Or become one.
This is also where you get the Istar River, which goes northward, east of Raban, into the Baku River. Most of the Cross Snow Mountains are in Tarlet territory. And to the east of the mountain range is Ofun, Fandria, and Lomar. And of course, between Lake Nomial and the Cross Snow Mountains is the Mayrim Woods, also known as the Vermilion Woods for the red foliage in the fall. A lot of elves live in this forest, and it's rare to see Yoma or magical beasts there.
Probably because the elves keep the populations managed.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Beneath the forest, there is a large network of caves that were created during a lava flow. A prehistoric lava flow, I should note. And some of the formations of those caves are big enough that you could fit a whole tower inside of them. And inside the caves, you have hot springs, rivers, colonies of luminescent mushrooms, and a lot of other organisms.
Sounds like a Terraria world.
Mm-hmm. Though a lot of those places, especially areas like the Forest of Shadows, are a closely guarded secret by the elves of that region. And there's also the issue of Fandria trying to send spies to undermine it, though that ended up backfiring because you're trying to sneak into a magic-filled forest. What do you think was going to happen?
Magic. Magic is going to happen in a magic-filled fortress. Imagine that shit.
But Fandria, in their infinite stupidity, in the year 522, thought we'll just cut down parts of the Miriam Woods so that the disguise would disappear. To the surprise of absolutely no one, the elves took that personal.
But figured it would be the dwarves who give it that level of grudge needed to pull that off.
Mm-hmm. Though, because it was officially a logging operation for the purposes of getting timber, it did create an anti-elven sentiment in Fandria.
Not that Fandria needed more targets, considering how militaristic it is.
Yeah. Now, between Fandria and Lomar, there is Lake Nomial, which doesn't belong to any country. There is a underground I won't say an underground kingdom. There is a kingdom at the bottom of the lake called Meros. Meros are also a type of fairy known as freshwater mermen. Though they don't have the fish lower half. They walk on two legs. They look similar to elves, except they have silver hair. No, I am not a Mero. Stop asking.
Your ears aren't pointy enough and you're not dainty enough. Shut up, man.
And that's how the fight started.
But Meros can use spirit magic, can breathe underwater, and can walk on land. Though they don't really get the whole clothing thing. So they'll wear jewelry, they'll wear whatever weapons they feel like carrying.
And I'll wear a blindfold.
When it comes to Meros, for every one male Mero, there are two female ones.
It's one of those.
Yep. And before any of you think about jumping in the lake, it should be noted they hate everybody from the ground. And and they are very distrustful of clothing. So if you want to get some headway into getting their trust,
I knew this smelled fishy.
though
It just would
Lucky, if
say
it smells,
it's gonna
if
be
it
like,
smells fishy, you need to see a doctor.
though on the shores of the lake is the town of Zaknit, which has a pretty prominent dyeing industry, mostly using the fruits from the woods.
Oh, cool.
The Zaknit dyes are exported to Lomar and are one of the bigger sources of income. They had a decent relationship with the Marrows, but it soured about a decade ago. Mostly because dye makers were dumping water into the lake, and the Marrows retaliated by putting holes in fishing boats. The one who...
They were. It's not just water they were dumping, Monk. It was dirty water that they'd been using to make their dyes.
Yep. On the other hand, unsurprisingly, the mediator between the two was the Swordmaster Rufus. Mostly because he had once killed a giant enemy crab. It had been barred.
Here's this giant enemy crab.
Mhm.
I'll try it. Are we talking about big enough to feed an entire village?
I don't know.
But I bet he had to hit the weak point to do massive damage.
And part of the negotiation was the dyers having to reduce their production. A lot of the dyers aren't satisfied with it, and the Marrows don't trust surface people in general, so they're not openly hostile to each other, but it's a strained relationship.
Yep.
So don't wander into their territory closed. Got it. So stay clear of the area is what I'm hearing.
Or just become a nudist, like you were always meant to be, Sig.
I like my outfits. Thank you very much.
But
Just
And what's the nudist? It's me.
But on the other hand, Horia Bay, being further south, the fire spirits are strong there, so the waters are always warm, and it's always relative summer in that area. Particularly, Gulgaris. You could even in winter you could swim in the bay. And
So like a natural hot spring almost.
it isn't as hot as a hot spring. It's just constant summer. So
A very
Gulf
warm-
Coast weather.
Sounds about right.
Mhm. There, you're gonna see a lot of fruits being eaten and sold, and a lot of fish and shellfish around the sea. And it is a frequent trade area with the eastern countries, which is one of the main parts of the economy for both Beldine and Drecknell, who have territory along that bay. There are a few small islands, which aren't even marked on charts. It serves as a base for pirates. There are also a bunch of merman colonies along the bay, and rumors of a merman kingdom under the waters. Though, given the whole thing with the Marrows, I don't think it'd be a good idea to pursue that.
I mean, the Marrows and the Mermen are two different people.
Mm-hmm.
The Mermen actually have fishtails.
But nope. And thank you for the follow, Nightfox. Hope you enjoy the madness. But along the peninsula on which Gulgaris is, is a spot that doesn't have a outright name. It's either called the Southern Peninsula or the Mountain of Wild Beasts. And at its end is Tonoi Cape. This is adjacent to Mount Gorgo, and this is where the mountain that's named is here. This is not a normal mountain, it's a volcano. One of the largest volcanoes in Alecrast, though it has been inactive for about 600 years. Until year 522, where it started to emit smoke. The reason it's called the Mountain of Wild Beasts is because, well, there's a lot of beasts and giant plants that inhabit the surrounding jungle. Tigers, gorillas, vampire bats, crocodiles, giant-ass wasps, giant praying mantises, or mantes, all forms of carnivorous plants.
We love giant praying mantises.
I don't. You know how hard those are to parry?
No, they're actually quite easy to parry.
For you, I'm still learning.
On
Parry
the other,
this.
on the other
casual.
hand, Yoma and magical beasts are rarely on this mountain. And even animals have a hard time going in and out. So it has its own unique biome. And a good reason why a lot of sailors don't go around that place is Tonoi Cape has a lot of reefs. And reefs have been and always will be one of the more reliable boat killers. And there are a few humans in the Southern Peninsula, but they're not the kind of people who you'd want to be having conversations with, because the conversation may turn to dinner. The dinner being you.
Cannibalism.
Oh.
I mean, yes, cannibalistic tribes.
Yep. There's also the marshy area of Mejan in the basin of the Ciento River. This is between Referil and Drepnol. It branches into swamps of various sizes along its different jungles. The only people who set foot in this area are people up to no good and trading vessels that try and pass through. And there is also the Road of the Free People, which we covered 2 weeks ago. On the western countries, it runs through Rede, through Beldine, Zarn, and Drepnol, and ends at the border of the Wild West. But there are also a set of dragon lords that are discussed within the legends of the western countries, sometimes called the God Slayers. Supposedly, this was a legend that originated in, well, the Age of the Gods, since that is the title of God Slayer was because they had power comparable to that of the 6 major gods. But since they were as much of a part of the Great War as everything else during the tail end of the Age of the Gods, they ended up fighting against each other and likely perished as a result. Though supposedly they weren't completely destroyed, only their bodies were destroyed, with the possibility of reincarnation up in the air. It is theorized that Lars, the victor of the first Great Korea world, World's a whole other thing, supposedly is a descendant of one of the God Slayers, Marina, the Sea Dragon Lord. which probably isn't the case, but you know how it is when people when legends get passed.
Game of telephone over countless generations.
Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the history, a lot of it we did cover. The fact that it had just as much of a ripple effect with the fall of the Ancient Kingdom as the rest of Alecrast, because the Ancient Kingdom covered the entire damn continent.
Yep.
And eventually that ends up falling, and we get the various dynasties and the city-states that we have now. But we do have a few dynasties that ended up being wiped out. One of them being the Billiard dynasty. It started with Roy Billiard marrying Angelica, who was the daughter of Bianca the fourth or the sixth, and that going from Maysel the first to the second to the third, then Nagafest and Maysel the fourth, fifth, and sixth.
I think that's Nightfest.
Yeah,
That's a Y. Yeah.
mm-hmm. But the Billiard dynasty was wiped out at the end of the Chaos Land War. Though supposedly Maysel VI wasn't killed by the enemy, but rather, when rebels invaded his castle, he took his own life. Or so the legend goes.
Yep.
But there was also a blank period for about 120 years where the political situation hadn't changed all that much. There were skirmishes over territories and a few civil wars, but nothing major. And then about 20 years ago, when the tension in the Western countries was at its worst, especially with the Kingdom of Fun being destroyed, we talked about that and how a dragon just decided, I'm gonna choose violence this day. Splitting Fun into the kingdoms of Fandria and Ofun, one of which still thinks that the Kingdom of Fun is still alive in their eyes.
Wonder which one it could be.
Mm-hmm. As well as the annexation of Reed by Lomar. The Western countries feared that a future war between West and East would erupt in their own territories. But since any one of the Western countries alone was too small to deal with that kind of conflict, the Tydel Alliance was formed. This was formed at the same year as Ofun was founded, so year 500. The kings of the 10 city-states met in Tydel and signed a treaty. The terms were simple, quote, "We, the 10 nations, though of different births, are brothers united in the alliance. The armies of our 10 nations are one against outsiders. If any one of our 10 nations is invaded by an external power, we shall respond with the combined armies of all 10 nations." Which, as far as treaties go, that's actually pretty straightforward.
Very straightforward, with no hidden pitfalls.
Mm-hmm. I think the
I
reason...
know some people.
Good.
I was gonna say. I know some people might say, "Well, there's nothing in there about supporting each other during internecine war." It's like, yes, the entire point of this alliance is to ally against war outside of their region.
Mm-hmm.
Within their region, they'll take care of it as they always have.
Yeah, if it's a civil war or an internal thing, the other with one city-state, the other city-states are going to look at that and go, that sounds like a case of not my problem.
Namfa.
Mm-hmm. Namfop, NMFP, not my fucking problem. Because the big reason that the alliance was even done was it was believed that each of the city-states was too small to repel an outside invasion on their own. And if one of them went down, it would be a domino effect for the other ones.
Yep, have to stem it off at the source immediately.
Mm-hmm. Now, the leader of the Tidal Alliance was King Albus III of Tidal, a descendant of the Zanti family. But the kings in total were King Albus III of Zanti and Tidal, House Rita, King Gustav IV of Promisay, House Reed, King Ricardo of Beldine, House Hattis, King Urban II of Goba, House Oase, King Stein of Raban, House Breed, King Philip IV of Gulgaris, House Bogart, King Sohorst VIII of Drecknall, House Garfunkel.
I think it'd be yours.
Really? House Garfunkel?
Yep.
Okay.
House Garfunkel in a place where there used to be a kingdom named Simon? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Eugene V of Zarn, House Rita. Daka III of Rafael, House Ragiel. And Canaris III of Tarlant, House Glard. Most of the kings who signed that treaty have passed. The only one who's still alive is Canaris the Third. At least,
Ardanis.
Yeah. At least by year 523, he's still alive. It has only had to be activated once. In year 513, the Gulgaris castle was besieged by pirates led by the pirate king Al-Jafi. Messengers were sent to the other 9 countries appealing for help. All the states came to the rescue. And even if it only came into effect once, I feel like once is enough to get the message across.
Well, once was enough to get the message across in such a way that that pirate king went, "Oh, fuck," and just retreated without a battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there wasn't a major battle since you know, pirates are not going to fight if they're outnumbered.
Pirates aren't going to fight unless they can win a profit.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that pirate king went, "Oh, fuck," and then just sailed away.
Yeah. One of the fleeing pirate ships got shot down with fire arrows. There is a rumor that Alphajin was hesitant to make enemies of his old friend, the underground king Dolkong from Drecknall.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at the use of the treaty as an instance of one sword keeps another in the sheath.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't been invoked again because because I think at this point the Eastern countries know if we try and invade the West, we'll have a much bigger problem than we're prepared for.
Yeah.
Now, something that's interesting in comparison is there's a different approach to court ranks compared to the West. In most countries, lords at the level of duke or marquis call themselves kings. But here, no matter how high you are, the only title you have is knight. But you can claim a title from a former Zanti or Simon era, even a family was once of high standing, it would only be a disgrace to claim a court rank if its members are just knights. Some houses sell their titles. There's also not many nobles who own lands in the Western countries. Even among the high nobility, most of them receive their pay from the royal household. If knights are posted to villages as local governors and receive payment from the taxes they collect, they're sometimes referred to as feudal lords. It's certainly a different setup compared to the rest of Alecrast.
Yeah.
Where you do have a bit more of a traditional setup. You have the king, then you have the nobility below that, then the knights below that, and then the peasantry below that.
Absolutely.
Whereas in this, it's knights all the way down. No matter how high ranking you are a knight. I think that's mostly due to the fact that there's been so much drastic political upheaval. You had a set of countries within the West, and now you have a bunch of city-states. That seems to be the vibe that we've got here. So I think it's understandable why the only major title that's stuck around is Knight.
Yeah.
It's most certainly one of those cases where would you say because of that the approach to nobility in the Western regions is more akin to post-Renaissance?
Not really, because post-Renaissance, there wasn't knighthood was on its way out, especially as the Dark Ages was on its way out. It became much more like banding with noble houses, and the nobility kind of fractured itself in a way that undermined central authorities in some places. I would say this is more like this is much more akin to almost like parts of Arthurian equality, though at a very, very it's a very loose association, not a tight one. More than anything, it's just an acknowledgement that, hey, you can't be more noble than this because we've just got these, you can't really hoard resources as much anymore.
Yeah.
Especially considering how the region is split up amongst 10 city-states.
There's a small part of me that wonders if post-colonial America was also a reference.
That could also work, where the states are all coming in. Yeah.
Like if I were to pin a point in time, maybe early Constitution era. Not Articles of Confederation. That's too early.
Yeah. Well, and the big thing here is that this is just it's very clearly a very it's a mishmash of certain things coming together.
Yeah. Which those sorts of mishmashes always make for
Roman Republic, Monk. It's the Roman Republic.
I can go with Roman Republic. If you had said Holy Roman Empire, that I would have had to raise an eyebrow.
No, it's the Roman Republic because there's no emperor. There are kings, quote unquote, at the head of every one of these city-states, but in the same fashion, in the Roman Republic, every city had its governor, And then under the governor, he had all his petty officials, which is like the knights in this case. There's no centralized governance for the entire region. A bunch of these governors come together basically like Roman senators would, and can make decisions amongst their ostensible fiefdoms and band together when everything is necessary. It's the Roman Republic.
Mm-hmm. I think we had a Roman Republic equivalent with Project Gaia as well.
I can actually check that real quick.
Yeah, the Senate and People of Asmenis.
Yeah.
Who not only have that, but also have the Free Worlds League problem of, don't bother attacking us, we have that covered.
Yeah. No, Monk, never.
But when it comes to revisiting Promise for a moment, it has the nickname of the farthest city. It is the major city-state that is right next to, that is sandwiched between Prom Bay and the Delva Woods. And its king does not look like a king. He looks more like a warrior than a king. Then again, when you have the title of the Hunter King, I suppose that's inevitable. There is a thieves guild in Promise, but things like pickpocketing and begging aren't as big of a thing in their thieves guild because it's too fucking cold. And how are you gonna pickpocket somebody when they have very thick jackets all the damn time?
Well, I mean, you're not.
Would you do it? There's also the problem of how do you pickpocket when you're wearing mittens?
Yeah.
Try fumbling around with your keys. With anyone who's ever had to mess with their keys while wearing mittens or gloves knows the pain.
Yeah.
So, because of that, a lot of the common forms of revenue for a thieves guild just aren't feasible.
Makes you wonder what they do then.
Well, commission work. they only work and they don't work unless it's requested. Because of that, the Thieves Guild is small in Promising. Most of them do fishing work, and hunting work on the side, as well as neighborhood defense activities. The main way that the guild makes money is gambling houses.
Yeah?
Well, we've definitely heard the jokes that gambling is just legalized theft, so the thieves figured, let's go for it.
Well, that and because of the climate of Promise, a lot of the traditional things that a thieves guild would focus on aren't going to be all that useful. Like lockpicking, locks often freeze over there, so what's the point? I already talked about the fact that begging when it's fucking cold out is not a good idea, and it's near impossible to pickpocket with mittens on.
Nope.
So because of that, the only time the Thieves Guild does actual thief work is when they're sufficiently paid to. Other than that, they tend to take odd jobs. So I'd say the Thieves Guild in Promise is not far removed from an adventurers guild or just a general trade guild. They're described more as an intelligence agency than a criminal organization. So that's the other way they make money. Having dirt on people.
Oh, they're just an info guild at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah. The master, Jerkin, the Eye of Ice, does have a friendly relationship with King Tauzeran, which is a legally distinct Tarzan if I've ever heard it.
No, really?
Yeah, but it's mostly the relationship has been described as partners in crime because they both have a deep love for the city. So Jerkin will lend a helping hand to the king in a covert manner, i.e., here's something to help out, but you didn't hear this from me, kind of way.
Speaking of which, is Jerkin the kind of guy who just screams his names at the top of his lungs and just bull rushes a mob?
No. Like anyone's going to exert that kind of energy when it's cold out. Especially if we're dealing with near Arctic kind of weather, which you get that kind of cold, it gets hard to breathe.
Yep. So you breathe through a very large scarf to keep your breath from freezing your lungs.
Mm-mm. Echo about the God damn it. God damn it, Riona. But Prom Bay wasn't always frozen over. It's always been cold, but the reason for the climate being the way it is because some of the people in the ancient kingdom did something they shouldn't. That is a recurring theme throughout Sword World.
Somebody in some ancient kingdom at some point did something bad that they really shouldn't have done, and it fucked everything up for everybody down the line, and everybody down the line keeps doing things they shouldn't have done, so it just gets worse.
Yep. In this case, it was trying to create an artificial fairy realm using magic. It had been done on an island in the middle of Prom Bay. It was supposed to be this idyllic, dreamlike dimension where even time was slower. It succeeded, but to keep the space viable, a lot of magic power was required. And with the ancient kingdom falling and the supply of magic power from the towers gone, the space lost its stability and collapsed. If in the worst case scenario, because it was messing with time and space, it could have caused a calamity that would have affected the whole continent. These few surviving sorcerers summoned higher spirits of ice and let out their powers to freeze the space, sealing off the ideal world they had once created, which saved Alecrast from getting blown up, but ever since, Prom Bay has become a frozen icescape. And even now, there's the island that's in the middle of Prom Bay is encased in deep ice. In theory, one could enter the artificial fairy realm that was created, known as Ishvarne. But it's difficult to approach it because of the freezing cold and constant blizzards raging throughout the area. So there's the real Fimbulwinter.
I told you it was all Fimbulwinter, Monk.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Fimbulwinter. It is Fimbulwinter.
But there's also an interesting tradition when it comes to marriage proposals, which is basically exchanging fur coats. Or fur cloaks, I should say. Both of them being sleeveless. It's something of a remnant of the bride hostage custom from long ago, just done in a form that is not necessarily as kidnappy. Huh. But I know some people are thinking this, so I may as well say it. No, Promise is not my summer home. I'm pretty sure some of you are thinking, could have fooled me. But then we have Tydel, the city on the crossroads, which has a population of about 9,000. It is a intersect town, since to its west is Raban, to its east is the Crossno Mountains. It is somewhat south of the Baku River and north of Tarland. So it is a major trading hub. And because it's a major trading hub, unsurprisingly, it has one of the larger thieves' guilds. Dreknall has the largest, but the one in Tydel is no slouch either, which has about 400 members. However, there's a bit of tension when it comes to the Thieves Guild in Tydel compared to Promise. And that mostly has to do with the fact that the king of Tydel, Albus IV, had declared neutrality between the feud that was going on with the guilds of Rafael and Dreknall. And because of that, the guildmaster of the Thieves Guild in Tydel, Master Aaron, has also declared a bit of neutrality, and some people have spread rumors that he's getting indecisive in his old age. The city is also planning on a plan called the City of Fossils Restoration Plan. Because there's a lot of ruins and dungeons across that are all over the place around Tydel. And of course, where there's ruins, there's going to be adventurers. The City of Fossils is in the southwest plains in the region. What ended up happening was a explosion of magic energy during the end of the ancient kingdom, petrified the city. And there are plans being set up to try and restore the petrified folk. They are close to launching the plan, but it hasn't been launched yet at present day. Basically, the plan is to use dispel magic on a wide scale, as well as regeneration and sleep to heal the body parts that were injured. Mm-hmm. Which, going through that, why am I thinking of Dr. Stone?
I don't know.
Of course, the project is a massive gamble, but if it succeeds, it would reveal a lot of knowledge of the ancient kingdom. And of course, like a lot of the city-states, they do have a strong intelligence network, headed by Altoni Cantaro, who has a dull appearance, but then again, he's a spy. You wouldn't want a spy to have a flashy appearance, would you?
I mean, depends on what you're trying to accomplish. In some cases, you can.
It's called hiding in plain sight.
Mm-hmm. every year from the 26th to the 30th of September, the Tydel holds what is known as the Festival of the Five Major Gods.
Hey, the best stealth is when you go and singing a You Don't See Me song.
But the five major gods are equally worshipped. Of course, Phalaris isn't worshipped because why would you worship the one who's associated with bad shit? Because remember, Phalaris is the mad god. And how mad? Probably as mad as the Mad God film. You know, the one that took 20 years to make. But the Festival of the Five Major Gods is a big damn deal. Like, the population is 3 times what it normally is during that festival. Because a lot of people, whether it be sightseeing or believers, make pilgrimage to this festival. And
being the giant economic hub, of course they'll want to have plenty of tourists.
Yep. Sometimes this does attract fanatics to the Dark God, but when you have a lot of people in one spot, that's going to happen regardless. Of course, I'm pretty sure the Thieves Guild loves this time of year because it means plenty of fresh targets. But one of the events that's held is a martial arts tournament sponsored by the Temple of Chazah. You essentially have a group-based martial arts tournament involving teams of 4, the winning group getting 10,000 gammas. All weapons are made of wood, you can't use magic, and the priests of Chazah treat those who are badly wounded, so the fights don't get too nasty. Though there's usually one out of a few dozen that ends up dying, but it's not as common as like a Roman Colosseum or anything like that. On the other hand, the Temple of Chazah also sponsors beauty pageants during the festival. After several stages of it, the winner of that gets the title of Flower of Tydel, and gets a lot of attention as a result. But God damn it! I just realized what I can draw a parallel to when it comes to this festival. Zan, it's the Great Minnesota Sweat Together.
No! No!
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
You're not telling lies, but no!
What, you don't want every food you have for a few days on a stick?
No.
Some of you were scratching your head and going, what the fuck is he talking about? To that I say, if you haven't lived in Minnesota, you're not going to get it, and I'm not explaining it.
Sometimes you want to eat your food off dishes. Sometimes you just want to eat your food off dishes.
Or at least a rapper.
See, the funny thing is, some of you think I'm kidding about that whole on a stick thing. Zan knows I'm not.
It's literal, ain't it?
Oh, yes. About as literal as those burgers on a stick that are on some of those really, really overcomplicated Bloody Marys I've seen in places.
Now, as part of this tangent, I do have to point out that the Sweat Together started in Duluth.
Yes, it did. The third place.
So if you want, yep. So if you want to understand what the Sweat Together is, there's actually a website for it. Well, at least there was one put up for the 2024 Duluth Sweat Together, which hasn't been updated since then, but still, it's there.
Yeah.
DuluthSweat.com.
For most of my life, it's been in St. Paul.
Yeah.
But it is participating in the different festivals is considered a very high honor.
It's considered an honor until you're tortured by everything on a stick. Like, can we just limit it to corn and hot dogs on sticks, please?
No.
I don't want hot dish on a stick, Monk, but they served that once.
Yes. But getting back on the rails, another major event is that on April 1st, in the outskirts of Tydel, a joint military exercise between all 10 city-states is held every 2 years. This was a tradition established when the Tydel Alliance was signed in year 500. Although, even though it's essentially a joint exercise, the amount of people that participate is particularly large. Some countries do grumble about it, like Dreknal and Gulgaris, because of how distant they are from Tydel. But originally the exercise was held annually, but it was changed to biannually because of not biannually, but every 2 years, because of the fact that it's a logistical nightmare to bring armies from 9 other different city-states all the way to one place. And
Biannually was the correct term.
Yeah. Alright, my bad. There is some suggestions to hold the exercises every 4 years. And each time the exercise is done, the scale of it has been reduced, and it's become another kind of competition.
It's become the jousting tournaments all over again.
Mm-hmm. And unsurprisingly, it gets a lot of spectators.
Every 4 years, huh? So basically, it's a military Olympics.
Inter-school military games are a thing even in the real world, so precedent.
Okay, I'm back. Situation under control, thankfully.
Welcome back. But then we have Tarlant, known as the city reaching the sky, mainly because, well, it's on the Cross No Mountains.
I will cross no mountains. Wait, what?
Yeah. Its population is about 4,000, and most of the citizens are followers of Marfa, the goddess of the earth. Not too surprising when you're on a mountainous region. Of course, you'd have a bunch of earth priests.
Mm-hmm.
Though one of the main ways to get up to Tarlant is known as the Oxen Slope. Mostly because you'll see a lot of cow herds accompanied by oxen being seen there. Cow herds are hired by wagon owners to help them go up and down the slope by having the oxen pull the carriages on with hooks. It is advisable to not use a horse-drawn wagon without the help of a cow herd. Because if not, the horses will probably get crushed. And if you're trying to descend without the help of a cow herd, the wagon will probably go out of control.
That's steep, people.
Mm-hmm. So, I know it might seem frugal to try and just use a horse-drawn cart going up it, but you'll probably end up dead, and all your cargo will probably end up being lost in the process. Not that you'll care about lost cargo at that point, because, well, you're dead.
My cabbages!
But because of it being a fortress town, it is somewhat isolated from a lot of natural resources, and could be vulnerable to starvation tactics in a siege. So it's not uncommon for large amounts of food and water to be stockpiled underneath the castle and even underneath plenty of households. It also means that they are significantly advanced in shelf-stable foods. And some of those foods have become the specialties of the city. Because it is Tarlant is at the end of the day a castle town. Granted,
I see some of those specialties are. Oh, go ahead.
I think most of the place would be castle towns, but go ahead.
I was going to say, I see some of their specialty foods are salt pickled and hot pepper pickled vegetables. I'm like, oh, it's Korea trapped in mountains.
So there is rumors that the king of Tarlant, Carnanus III, has elven ancestry. It isn't known if that's the case, but his wife, Queen Realmire, is an elf.
This is where Ulf came from, monk. But then why is he so hairy in the TV show?
The world may never know. But they have two children, one of them being Prince Alf and Princess Caroline. Though King Carnanus has a reputation as a kind man who isn't all that interested in conflict, but is harsh against those who cause suffering in his city. This has resulted in him being targeted for a few assassination attempts by villains, none of which have succeeded. Though the main concern that he's had is the goblins in the Crossno Mountains and some of the human supremacists within the country. Because remember, there was that whole bad situation thing with the forest. But every year, the army of Tarlant does a monster hunt. Usually in the winter, because then food sources for the monsters get scarce. The monster hunt is done to prevent the said monsters from trying to attack the castle or attack neighboring villages of the castle. It also is a practical combat exercise, especially for the knights, but also paladins of Faris and Miley. And occasional adventurers and vigilantes join in on this thing. So
it's almost like a festival. Almost.
In a sense. And
there's a song playing in my head. Can anyone guess what it is? Because of course, the Festival of the Hunt from Final Fantasy IX.
Yes.
Yeah. At least we're not bringing monsters into the middle of a damn city, though.
I know that. I don't know. With the Festival of the Hunt in 9, it always kind of reminded me of the Running of the Bulls when they did that.
It is the Running of the Bulls. It's absolutely a reference to the Running of the Bulls.
Yeah. Which leads me to don't have Freya in that because obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, in the northeastern parts, there's a large ravine that has a lot of winged beasts there. However, it's steep enough that flying is the main way that you're going to move around in the place. It's very difficult to approach on foot, and the beasts rarely leave that territory. Even elves rarely go in that place. It's a remnant of how in the ancient kingdom period it was popular to tame wyverns and griffins and use them as mounts. Though, obviously, since the fall of the ancient kingdom, that is no longer a thing, but the beasts just live in that valley. And of course, there are quite a few Pegasi there as well, which, the standard rule applies. If you are a decent enough person, then the Pegasus won't be bothered by you. But then we have the new city Raban, which, as I mentioned, is to the west of Tydal and the northwest of Tarlant. It is referred to as the new city because it's only been around for 150 years compared to the other ones. It used to be just a plain until it was made. And about that whole huge dungeon thing, Mavaro the Third, when he commissioned that dungeon, it was to rival the achievements of the ancient kingdom.
He issued an annual challenge to all heroes, brave or foolish enough to wager their souls. If only.
Yeah. Now, of course, we don't know how that would have turned out because during the construction of it, Daka the First, the future king of Rafero, and others rose against him and overthrew King Mavaro. Naturally, a civil war ensued for several years, and the kingdom of Simon was divided into three city-states. The dungeon construction was abandoned midway, and the artisans who had lost their jobs wanted to return to their hometowns, but because of the war, they couldn't. So they figured, screw it, they'll use the remaining stones, build a town there and settle there, and that's how we get Raban. In other
Which
words,
means Raban is built on top of a labyrinth.
Yep. A labyrinth that is unfinished, and is also an embodiment of, fine, we'll build our own town with blackjack and hookers. Forget the hookers.
And the blackjack.
The king is Falk Breed. His last name it seems to be apropos because he seems to have no less than 10 illegitimate children. Since his nickname is Womanizer, so...
I mean, with a name like Daka, of course you need more Dakas.
Well, his name is Falk. His name is Fuck Breed. That's his name. Fuck Breed.
He is impulsive, but he has enough sense not to neglect national politics. He's also hoping to expand Raban's influence. He'd hoped to take Princess Lukian as his bride, but that's been foiled. Though he's not giving up yet, since he is known for being obstinate. I'd imagine he has more kids than Ric Flair.
Woo!
But then you have Darls, who seems to be the calming presence around Falk. He comes from a long line of sorcerers. And while he usually warns the king about his recklessness, sometimes, after being pressed, he ends up being a collaborator in the king's plans. But Darls has no intention to replace Falk. Although Falk does give him multiple headaches over the years, I think his attitude is, being a king is not my job. My job is to be an advisor. Now, if only my king would listen to my advice, then we might have some easier times. But the Thieves Guild in Raban has a unique position because its guildmaster Zephyrus is a high priest of the Temple of Ganard. The temple, which is located in the basement of a tavern, because of course it is one of the larger ones in the continent. Problem is, again, the Thieves Guild and the temple are controlled by the same person. So there's an issue of those who are priests but are affiliated with other thieves guilds.
Sounds like a lot of underground trading going on.
The issue is more of what happens when you essentially have one person running two organizations, and what to do when priests who are not affiliated with the Thieves Guild come in, and people who are not priests who are affiliated with other cities' thieves guilds come in.
Yeah, I can see where that could be a problem.
Zephyrus is holding it together, but there is a fear that if he is replaced, then you could have a underground feud brewing up.
A shadow war.
But one of their big economies is horse breeding. They're not as good as Ramlir when it comes to horse breeding, but they are close. And same thing with making harnesses and having their own state-sanctioned chariot race. And I have a feeling at least one of you would use that as an impetus to bring in horse girls into Alecrast.
No. Let's not get there.
Zan, Maki, I'm looking straight at you.
For what?
I'm just over here in the corner holding my hands up. I got nothing to do with this. I have no dog.
I
in
am
this fight.
innocent.
Innocent. Sure.
Meanwhile, Riona's like, Uma might say I enjoy horsing around.
See, I'm not going to make a joke about horse breeding and animal husbandry. You know why, Monk?
Why?
Because that's low-hanging fruit, and low-hanging fruit needs to be left for monkeys, not for humans.
Fair. The drunken monkey style is based on imitating monkeys that ate fermented fruit, so...
I'm not wrong.
But to the north end of Raban, you have the monument to the center of the world. It is shaped like they describe it as shaped like a giant shogi piece, but if I'm being honest, it's just a damn obelisk.
Yep.
An obelisk that is 6 meters high. That is described as leaving a strong impression on a viewer with its size and lack of artistry. The monument claims that it's at the center of the Alecrast continent and even the whole world of Forcelia. But
Oh my.
The world map...
They made modern AAA gaming. In their fantasy world.
Modern AAA gaming in my fantasy world, it's more likely than you think.
But the world map it's on the thing is a bizarre one, since it has the western countries larger than the other regions of Alecrast put together. Surprise, surprise! The creation of this was ordered by Mavaro III.
He made a giant dick in the center of the world, or at least what he thought was the center of the world.
Which
Checks
just
out.
happened to be nearby his kingdom.
That checks out. For
Hey,
someone
who
called
knows?
the
Can
Inept,
you
it
imagine
makes
just
sense.
waking up? Can you imagine just waking up and you go through the window and you see a giant stone dick and just is sticking out there and saying hello?
I mean, it's a shogi piece, but anybody who's played shogi knows that shogi pieces are rather, or can be rather, phallic looking if they're stood up on end. And this looks like a shogi piece that is stood up on end for 6 meters!
Yep.
I would be kind of surprised if a dick said hello to me, but a phallic statue is normal to me. I am Japanese, we have penis festivals here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew that was going to get brought
we
up
know.
eventually.
Yep. I knew the Dick Festival was gonna get was gonna.
But back on the rails. In year 522, a underground exploration race was established. The idea was use the labyrinth to have adventurers do a massive race. You have to pass through checkpoints and reach a goal in time while solving riddles hidden around the labyrinth and overcoming different obstacles, such as traps, human guardians, dragon-tooth warriors, i.e. the skeleton warriors we talked about a few weeks back. Though if you've seen Goblin Slayer, you're familiar with dragon-tooth warriors already.
And if any of you is familiar with Greek mythos, you know that this all stems from the Spartoi.
There are...
The soldiers that sprout from the ground when the teeth of Ares' snake is planted in the earth. And no, that's not a euphemism. We mean that Ares literally had a pet giant snake.
There are also plenty of magical beasts and golems that are in this massive dungeon. And battling between participants can happen. And unsurprisingly, outside the labyrinth, there is gambling to predict the winner.
I mean, the thieves gotta get their money somehow.
It is a relatively new thing. After all, it was done in year 522, so only a year ago in current times. It is held on May 10th every year. The prize money is 10,000 gamel per person, and the entry fee is 500 for each participant. But this idea of a dungeon race, why does that sound like something that would be the focus of a tournament arc in a magic-themed shonen battle manga? Oh wait, it actually did.
As it is.
Yeah, because it did happen.
That's what's like, because it is.
I wonder which shonen battle manga we are referencing. It couldn't be the one where rock beats everything. Janken-gu.
But there is, unsurprisingly, given the amount of artisans, there is a very prominent stonemasons guild. Originally, it was founded as a kind of protection because of the kingdom of Simon had fallen, the construction of the dungeon had ceased, and now you had a bunch of artisans and craftsmen who had nothing to do. Especially since after the Civil War, a lot of them lost their homes. the reason it's called Three Stonemasons is the three leading figures in the construction of the dungeon and the subsequent building of Raban. Harold Waymash, the chief stonemason, Rati Damir, a relief carving expert, and Loris Kali, a trap builder and bureaucrat. Although, I hope he wasn't building traps while doing bureaucracy. That'd be awkward. Imagine putting...
At least he's not building a monster closet.
Yet. He did make it... He was a participant in a massive dungeon, so... The other thing is that the guild is famous for a confidentiality policy. During construction work inside a royal palace or underground palaces, the guild uses a poison called Mind Traveler, which can erase specific memories from a certain point of time. It's given on the first day of the period in which the memories are to be erased. Then after the construction is completed, the antidote is given, and the memories of the time that they made it were lost. Sometimes the antidote is substituted with a cure poison spell.
So you're basically making zombie slaves without... but just more mind control than anything.
They're not... It's not mind control. It is basically...
It's It's a poison that, once cured, erases your memories of the duration you had the poison.
Mm-hmm. I will take this time to remind everyone, including myself, that trade guilds were notoriously secretive about their processes. So, I see this as just taking that to its furthest extreme. But when it comes to one of the parent-child city, also known as Beldine, it is one of the transit points on the road of free people. So it is a very large trading hub, especially with the eastern countries, on both sea and land routes. Beldine could be considered the front door to the western countries, if Tydel is the back door. Phrasing. I know some of you are giggling in the back.
Why no? Why ever would I do such a thing?
Yeah. In year 430, the city was severely damaged by a tsunami and was able to be rebuilt by King Leo Hadis in about 20 years. Having a genius architect certainly helped. But the city is built into two parts. Old Town with the harbor and still somewhat messy, and the less messy New Town at the top of a hill. The road to them is flanked with high stone walls as a precaution to prevent the city from divided in case of an invasion. It is one of the more populous cities, because Old Town has a population of about 5,000 and New Town about 3,500. And while there is that division between the two, it's not like this isn't like, say, Piltover and Zaun in League of Legends. You don't really have that kind of division between the two, especially since the city is still known as a haven for different types of architecture, as well as painting, sculpture, and other arts. Hence one of its other nicknames, the capital of the arts. It's not helped by the fact that the current king, Brown Hadis, promotes the arts within the city.
My kind of place.
Mhm. And that pursuit of the arts is also carried into the royal family as well. But one of the bigger monuments with it is the Tower of the World, which is about 100 meters tall. Still shorter than the Sorcerer's Guild in Oran, but is the tallest tower in Alecrast. And it is quite the tourist attraction, as one might expect, especially since at the top is the Star Realm Observatory, a collaboration between the national government and the Sorcerer's Guild. The main goal of it is to use star pattern observation to predict and avoid natural disasters. Basically, we don't want another city-destroying tsunami like we had 90 years ago. But around the tower is a park that's about 50 meters in radius and resembles a small forest, including a fountain with statues of krakens, undines, mermaids, and other mythical creatures. So again, adding to that tourist trend. And I should note, when it comes to Old Town and New Town, there is a path that leads between the two that you have to travel. So much as I hate to, I won't say I hate to do this, but I have to. Zan, given the layout of Beldine, could I make an analogy between this and the Twin Cities?
You could, if you really wanted to.
And for the main reason I say that is, well, the Twin Cities, even though they are connected by a big ass bridge on the middle of the Mississippi River.
I know.
I know you know. I'm just getting up, but not everybody else knows the correct way to pronounce Rome.
I would like to point out that Beldine is the capital of the arts to its own detriment, though.
Yes.
Because they focused so much on art and commerce that they've kind of neglected military training and military power.
And it's because
they develop new.
They don't send as many people to that joint exercise that happens every 2 years.
Yeah. And when it comes to military development, it's more about military technology than actual military training.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, they did establish the Chaos Land route, because they've had to deal with Chaos Land's bullshit on more than one occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been several expeditions, but a lot of them haven't returned. But then we have Gulgaris, the city of endless summer. This is the most southern of the 10 children. And it is summer constantly, an almost tropical kind of city state. So because of that, light clothing is going to be essential, since it's midsummer all year round.
Light clothing is an understatement, monk.
Yeah.
We're talking bikini with short sarong wraps for the women and just short sarong wraps for the men.
Oh God, are the men wearing Speedos?
Just, if you have it open, scroll down to the Golgari section, second page. The queen in her throne room. But I'd also like to point out that the queen's name seems to be a bit on the fucking nose. The translation we have is Baybliss, Bay Bliss. So the bliss in the bay, or Babe Bliss, or Babeless. Maybe she's just telling you will have no maidens, maidenless behavior.
Or I think this is where you were going with this. This is a legally distinct Bailiff, the Queen of the Black Coast.
You said it, not me. You said it, not me. I didn't have to say it. You just said it, not me.
But the Queen of the Black Pearl here is one of the 10 best spirit users in the Western countries. And well, the only thing that she doesn't have from the Bailiff from Hyboria is greed. But she definitely follows the warrior queen archetype, since during major battles, whether it be monster slaying missions or pirate attacks, she's usually leading the army herself or fighting in battles personally.
I would like to point out that while she doesn't have the greed, she definitely has the greed in the manners in other ways. Such as the fact that she has gotten rid of all naysayers in her court. Nobody talks against her. And she is known for philandering so regularly, she takes medication to prevent pregnancy. And has had more than a dozen men as her lovers.
So she is the Stacy of this world.
Well, she aggressively seduces them, plays with them as much as she can, then throws them away like garbage when she loses interest.
Hey, let's be frank, it's probably not just dudes that she bedded on the occasion.
Regardless, there have been attempts at suitors, but all of them have been turned down. So any marriage is not likely to happen anytime soon. Now, the city does have a prominent adventurers guild known as the Sea Breeze. It is an open design, as one might expect from a tropical place. And the owner, a man named Ron, is in his 40s. He's helped by a kid named Lem. But the place is the place that is very unlike other adventurers guild in terms of how it is designed and how it looks. A lot of trees with a lot of flowers, which gives the place a sweet fragrance. Tables and chairs made from logs of a giant southern tree, and lamps made of seashells. Not exactly what one would expect from an adventurers guild.
Monk.
Yep.
I have to say it. It's just Ernie's juice bar.
Fuck off.
He's got a teenager with attitude, and they hang around, and it's supposed to be an adventurers guild. It's just Ernie's juice bar. It's even got the tropical theme, Monk.
You're not wrong.
It is.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, you're just an asshole.
I don't see anything wrong with that statement either.
I love the tone of Monk's voice here. The sheer defeat.
Oh, Monk, the sheep is on my side. What will you do now?
Take it out on me.
Remember, folks, the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Even if the beatings are on the monk and it's his morale we're improving.
Well,
At least I'll up my parry skill with this.
We also have the Sea Guard, Monk.
yes. Obviously, a coastal place that has had to deal with pirate problems is going to have a strong navy. And thus you have a police agency specializing in marine matters, hence the Sea Guard. Mostly dealing with smuggling ships, defending against pirates, and dealing with seaborne monsters. So, I would say that they're akin to the Coast Guard, but the Coast Guard is the military's red-headed stepchild. And of course, most of the time they essentially act as police, unless the Queen commands it, in which case they turn into a pirate exterminating force. Oh my God, they're the Marines.
Well, and Monk, they're all given magical daggers of for self-defense and proof of identity. At least I assumed the daggers are silver because they're magical. And the guard is engraved with the emblem of the Sea Guard, which is a sea dragon entwined with a black pearl. A domineering and powerful woman commands men with daggers to go out and fight for her. How is this not just the kingdom of MMPR? She has a Marine Corps made of Tommies, Monk. A Marine Corps made of all of the Green Rangers you could ever want.
Including Lord Draken.
Lord Draken's not.
I don't think Lord Draken broke the everybody when he appeared in the comics.
But
I'm sorry, it fits so well.
Although looking at the way Gilgaris is set up, I do think the fact that the castle is on effectively a tidal island does make me think of Mont Saint Michel in France.
Mm-hmm.
Because the road that leads there only appears at low tide.
That makes it exceptionally defensible, I guess.
And because of where it is, it also means that if pirates start showing up, they have an early sighting of it, and
Yep.
also a moving target for lots and lots of arrows.
Yep.
Although, given that the Queen is adept in spirit magic, I wouldn't be surprised if they even get that close. I mean, she might just.
Nah, she just has.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Monk.
The pirates might end up suffering a bad case of waves.
I was thinking she'd just be like, "Hey, Undine, go make this Kraken sneeze for a second, and then blame it on the ships."
But then we have the kingdom of Zarn, which is also referred to as the Stone City because, well, if you look at it from the outside, it looks like a big-ass rock.
Ayers Rock?
At one point, it was an opal mine. And that led to this massive underground network. When the ancient kingdom fell, many people came to live inside the crag because it was cool and comfortable. and safe from foreign enemies. At first, the population was less than 100, but nowadays it's around 4,500. And how this underground place is lit up? Mirrors. A network
Wait a
of
minute. Mirrors?
Yeah.
That makes
Wait
sense,
a minute.
actually.
Hold on. Wait just a fucking minute. Mirrors? Are you saying that they have coaxed sunlight down through a series of mirrors to fill their halls with warm light during the day? This is the part where I have to point out that yes, I wrote this as a part of our dwarven racial description back in a FFLE. Shameless plug, but you can't shame that which has none. So not really shameless, I guess.
So they don't have a very strong military, so they make up for it by playing dirty. Namely, all soldiers are trained rangers. So a lot of archery, a lot of hiding in natural terrain, a lot of trap setting, and surviving in the forest. So a lot of surprise attacks. Mostly due to the fact that because of its location and because of the environment.
Yes. We love our fantasy Vietnam.
Although I think there's too much rock formation for it to be Vietnam per se. But although that does bring up the idea of somebody making a Magitech version of the Thing. You know exactly where I'm going.
Oh, hell
with
no.
that.
Oh, hell no.
I'm not. I don't need to inflict. You can inflict that nightmare on others. I don't need to be the bad guy every time.
What? You don't like 6 bazookas firing beehive rounds?
Stop.
It actually sounds like a good time. Yeah, I should probably go ahead and contact the Canadian military, see if we could go ahead and do that.
It's only a war crime the first time.
Well, when it was originally shown at the proving ground, the army didn't like it because of the backblast. The Marines said, "I'll take your whole stock."
Yep.
But the castle town of Zarn is carved into one of the massive crags, and because of that, it has a unique structure. It is largely underground with a central hub surrounding lots and lots of tunnels.
Layers.
Mm-hmm. This particular thing is in the middle of a grassy plain, but there are a lot of choke points and crags in the immediate area, which is why ambush tactics are commonly used when the city has to be defended. But and of course, it does have a thieves guild due to the maze-like architecture, so there's plenty of places for thieves to hide. It has had a overrun with thieves problem for a while because they know every way in and out. On the other hand, the thieves aren't just rampaging. They will often say, "We're not like those barbaric bandits," and hate being equated to those who use violence to take from peasants. The Zarn Thieves Guild tries to avoid violence as much as possible and only target more affluent folk.
Wow, honor among thieves after all.
Zarn is a hard place to live in, and a lot of people in Zarn aren't going to have a whole lot as is because of that. So there is a bit of romanticism for a Zarn thief stealing from a rich man. And on the other hand, if someone like that does get robbed, they're not going to go to the city guard. They're actually going to go to the Thieves Guild and pay to get the stuff back. They are paying at a loss, but it's either that or lose everything.
So they're kind of like a legit pawn shop?
On the other hand,
legit pawn shop.
a lot of wealthy folk do give donations to the guild and assurances that they won't be robbed.
Hello, protection.
Sometimes they'll ask the guild to steal valuable documents or goods to obstruct from business rivals. On occasion, thieves from other thieves' guilds will do jobs in Zarn. This is referred to as territory abuse. And those are the Thieves Guild's primary targets. And because
So basically, so in short, they pretty much know what to tell everyone else. Hey, this is our turf, get lost.
Pretty much. And because of that, the Thieves Guild has a lot of political power in Zarn. Though at the higher ends, there is actually a hanging garden, which used to be only available to royalty. It's opened up a little bit more, but most people aren't going to be able to see it. On the other hand, at the lowest level of the city is a public bathhouse. It was found when miners who were digging for opal hit a layer that was spewing steam. And it wasn't the opal they were looking for, but figuring waste not, want not, they expanded it horizontally and converted it into a sauna.
Nice.
I mean, when you got like a giant body of water just really available, why not market it?
The fee for the bathhouse is only 1 gallon. You do have to pay a storage fee when you leave your clothes with the caretaker, which is probably more expensive. Though the public bathhouse looks more like a theater or a stadium, which would make it more akin to a Roman bathhouse, if I'm being honest. And yes, there is a rock wall in the middle, so it's not a fully shared one. It's divided into a men and women's section. And as far as the lighting is magic. There are some layers further down, but nobody who's tried to go in there has come out unscathed. Usually the steam-emitting holes that go up every hour keep them from going too deep. But given the size and the fact that it's described as like a theater, I can't unthink of a Roman bathhouse. But then we have the city of Rafero, the city of dreamers, which is divided mostly by the Ciento River, which goes right through the center. The population is about 8,000. On the west side, you have a lot of factories and small dwellings, and on the east side, you have a high-end residential area. this was the one place that was heavily used by dyers, which we talked about the problems from that. But the reason for the city of dreamers is because the people don't have a strong sense of crisis. The mindset is it's better to live happily today than worry about tomorrow's problems. They can be dealt with tomorrow.
Ignorance is bliss.
And as mentioned, it does have dyed cloth as one of its big exports. It also has the Adventurers Guild known as White Goat, which there's always around 20 adventurers hanging around there.
White Goat, Maki's eternal rival. We've got to prove that you are truly the better ungulate here.
Cock's shotgun.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
Yep.
Now Maki's speaking my language.
Yeah.
The only thing they fear is you plays in the background.
Oh God.
Oh. I think I still have the coffin in the back, don't I? I'll have to check the armory. Wait a minute, I am the armory. But
You can keep the coffin. I don't need guns to have fun.
But then another thing to note is Raphael doesn't have a whole lot of soldiers, and that's not a whole lot of garrisons. This is instead they have the Free Guard as a defense unit, which is mostly composed of mercenaries and adventurers. A nation with a not very strong army that relies on paying mercenaries to supplement their regular army. Why does that sound familiar?
I can't imagine why. Also, don't forget the other half of that. A nation with a weaker military that relies on its local populace as a militia.
Yep. But the Free Guard does receive a salary from Raphael, as well as being able to eat and drink free of charge in the villages that they're in. The villages have to provide hospitality to the Free Guard. The cost of food and drink is a kind of tax. So most of the time, their visits are tolerable, especially areas where monsters often show up. In the more peaceful areas, they're a bit of a nuisance. But whenever a serious incident occurs in their particular turfs, they are ordered to investigate and deal with it, given temporary police authority. And of course, another part of it is monster extermination, and failure to perform those duties may result in dismissal or punishment.
Yep.
There is also a rule that there must be at least 2 women in one team of a Free Guard. Although some Free Guards teams consist entirely of women. But what I definitely see with the place is a smaller nation that is making do, which is kind of the par for the course with a lot of the 10 children. But then we have the city of stairways, known as Goba, which is north of Raphael and east of the Wyatt Mountains. It's called the City of Stairways because it looks like a giant stairway when viewed from a distance. It is a mining city, unsurprisingly, and even more unsurprisingly, it has a significant dwarf population. The city of Goba is on a layered setup. The first layer is the stone layer. A lot of dwarves mine iron ore in this area. This is also where there's a lot of underground tunnels. The second layer is the iron layer, where the ironworks are located, where ore is brought up and refined and turned into iron. Half of the ore is exported to foreign countries, and the rest is transported to the upper layers. The third of this is the steel layer, which has a lot of foundries and weapons workshops. This is where the iron is processed to make weapons, armor, farming implements, kitchenware, anything that would need metal is done here. And the fourth layer is the silver layer, a commercial district. Iron products are bought and sold here, and business deals with merchants are conducted. This is also where the market is. The fifth layer is the gold layer, which is where well-off merchants and aristocrats live. There's only mansions with gardens and it is basically the ritziest part of it. Further up is Wild Eagle Castle, which is home to King Sanan I. It was built on uneven rocky terrain, which leads to steep slopes on the grounds inside the ramparts. And the main building is only 20 meters higher than the residences of the royal family. There's also a stairway called the Minister's Way between the main building and the residences, which the king is obliged to take under any circumstances. If a king is incapable of climbing this stairway, he must retire.
Well, no, the Minister's Way is the gentle sloping stairway. The King's Way is the steep one.
Yep. My bad. And looking at the cross-section, it is definitely a steep-ass stairway. So the ministers get the easy way, the king gets the hard way. I suppose this tradition is to establish that the king has to be someone who is properly fit to maintain the place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, considering that there's a lot of mining here, physical fitness is going to be kind of key.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, there's an ironworks. Maki could work here.
Oh.
Blacksmithing sheep. I don't see why not.
And of course, there is a very prominent miners' guild. And so prominent that it has multiple departments.
Not the Miners Guild.
You have the defense department, so mining security. The information department, so finding new ore veins or uncovering frauds. The prison department, which manages the forced labor mines. It's like you don't get beheaded for high crimes. You just get forced to work in a forced labor mine. Jury's out which one is worse. Then you have the Treasury Department, self-explanatory there, and the Invention Department, responsible for developing techniques for excavating and refining ores and polishing gems, as well as ranking polished gemstones.
Treasury Department, does that mean they have the IRS?
But in addition to all of that, there has been tension between the humans and non-humans in Goba, which has resulted in a resistance army being formed in the region. And that resistance army has intensified its activities leading to King Sanan to form the Axe and Pickaxe Corps. Or Corps, sorry. Though the idea is that anyone who interferes with tree felling, they are there to drive away, but in reality, the Axe and Pickaxe Corps are legal thugs. So there's certainly a lot of prosperity in the town, but also a lot of conflict. And of course, Dreknall, which we've danced around, is the Thieves' City. It is the one that has the biggest Thieves Guild and the one that has the biggest control. The Thieves Guild has the biggest control. It's also the one that's closest to the Wild West, to the far west of Alecrast. And there is the slavery issue. There is a small class of slaves, which is something that's rarely recognized within Alecrast. Dreknall doesn't call it slavery, but it practically is.
Indentured servants.
Yep. But not too far removed from Dreknall is the city of Palmer. Well, not city, more of a village. It is named after Palmer Lurie, the founder of the Road of Free People. And essentially, the village of Palmer is where the road started. But beyond where Dreknall is a place known as the Wild West. This is on the other side of the Wyatt Mountains, which is an untamed land that is rarely tamed by humans. There are a few human villages, but there's also mythical beasts, Yoma, Titans, Lizardmen. So even though it is called the Wild West, it is not that kind of Wild West. It's just a...
I should hope not.
It is just a untamed area that is largely controlled by monsters. And I guess I suppose I could liken it to, say, the Dark Continent in Hunter x Hunter, in the sense that you have some of the most dangerous monsters in this particular area.
That's probably fair.
Several of them have their own names, like Gilding Slayer, which is a carnivorous snake that's over 3 meters long, with a flattened body.
A gliding slayer.
Yeah, it's good at surprise attacks and leaps from its hiding places when prey appears. It jumps vigorously and bites its tail to form a ring, then spinning and gliding from 1 to 2 meters above the ground. It slashes its enemy with large saw-like scales that grow on the sides of its body.
Don't like that at all.
Or we have things like Howling Hightower, an immense tree that grows in temperate forests. It is sturdy with thick trunks, and which becomes hollow at the center as it ages. The top of the trunk has a large oblique opening to catch the wind. Wind blowing into the trunk's tip swirls inside and spews through a vertical slit near the ground as a whirlwind with vacuum blades. Depending on the terrain and the wind force, the power of the whirlwind varies, but ranges in a radius of a dozen or so meters. Whenever the wind blows, the surrounded vegetation is mowed down, and any unfortunate animal nearby sustains severe lacerations.
Ooh.
Honestly, some of these descriptions and names that makes me think if they could become effectively bosses in Mega Man X games.
I think you're saying that because of the whole two-word pattern.
Howling
Now
hot.
then, the themes and what they can do. It makes it for some interesting gameplay.
But in addition to that, you have weird cases like Chelsea, the Dragon Master, a kid who seems to have a decent relationship with the dragons, mostly because his grandfather asked a lesser dragon to take care of him. So it's not Drakengard 2 that is the only one that has the whole dragon child concept.
Yeah.
But essentially, the dragon named Aurora and Chelsea are still young, despite how massive the dragon Aurora is. It is still a lesser dragon. It is a lesser dragon that just happens to be 8 meters long. But as mentioned, there is also the massive thieves guild in Drecknall, which in the 10 Children book gets a whole section all to itself, as well as the hierarchy that is utilized. So it's less of the glorified gang that some thieves guilds are, and more of a full organization. You also have
mafia.
You also have the whole thing with the Pirates Guild, as well as a secret society known as the Grim Reapers. Essentially a group of assassins.
I honestly want to bring up the Shadow Warrior 3 joke, but I'm not going to.
But one of the special divisions of the Grim Reapers consists of people that look like teenage boys and girls, but are actually mutated forms of Alarunes. It was a attempt by Tarlant, one of the Grim Reapers, to create a means to have talented assassins quickly. The result was the Flower Children. And is another case of using ancient magic to fuck around.
And then find out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they succeeded
Yeah.
in a way, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. But there's other organizations like the Chosen Beasts, which are a bunch of lycanthrope supremacists.
Splendid.
As well as a rumored Goblin Alliance. And a mysterious masked sorcerer simply known as Overlord, who sometimes refers to himself as the ruler of the world.
Huh. Somebody played that Xbox 360 video game, did they?
Mm-hmm. And now some of the books that are referenced have been translated, but only a small few of them. The only ones that have been translated, to my knowledge, are A Leprechaun's Tears, the Thieves' Rhapsody books, and some of the stuff for Devil May Care Adventurers. A lot of the 1.0 material mostly consists of light novels and replays more than crunch. Although some crunch got snuck into some of the replays. And at the tail end of the book, they list the ideas and where it was originated from. I would guess that a good chunk of them are pseudonyms because, well, the Mayrim Forest of Shadows was suggested by someone in the Kochi prefecture named John Smith. There are 3 suggestions from someone in Saitama named Black Knight. Along with one, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, from Tokyo Metropolis, who went by Makoto-chan. As well as several from Nine Tails Expo in Kanagawa. I wonder if that's supposed to be...
Somehow one of these names is not like the other.
A lot of them are. I think a good... another one, the Bloody Shandak was suggested by someone from Osaka who went by the pen name of Samurai of Dragonia. And at least one person didn't even put a name. They just put in anonymous. But I'd imagine, in fact, 2 of those were from anonymous. But like I said, the 10 Children is a bit more all over the place compared to the rest of Alecrast. But based on what you guys have seen of this particular region, the 10 Children that make the Tydel Covenant, what's been your take on it?
Surprise, it'd be a great place to explore some adventures. Granted, you probably wouldn't be able to explore the whole of it in a single campaign,
and
it would definitely make for fun.
Yep,
a fun few games.
Hey there, Ryga. Thank you for the raid. I hope your particular event was going well. For those of you coming in who are not familiar with me, my name is Mildra. I am your one and only gaming monk, and we are talking about Sword World 1.0, specifically the 10 Children region. What was that you had said earlier, Sig?
I was just saying, while this place would be good for, like, you probably wouldn't be able to cover the whole of it in a single campaign. Like, many mini campaigns could probably cover the whole of just the 10 Children itself.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I apologize. I have been distracted by a kitten.
All good. But Zan, what did you think of this particular region?
There is a potential to do a lot of interconnected non-combat social play, especially considering how the politics of that region are going to be dictated by how different each city-state is, as well as their proximity to each other. I could see actually having a lot of the more intrigue-based type adventures you tend to see in something like L5R used in the 10 Children. Because L5R is very much, it has a lot of intrigue built into that game compared to combat, since combat is so fucking deadly in L5R.
Yeah.
That you could have a lot of characters using a lot more of the skill rolls that they wouldn't normally use otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other advantage is the fact that a lot of the nations in the eastern part of Alecrast are significantly large enough that they could handle a campaign by themselves. Whereas the 10 Children is significantly smaller. Like, that region is only as large as, say, one nation in the east. And comparatively, Rokugan in L5R isn't that big of an empire as far as landmass.
Yeah, it's a tight space, just like the 10 Children are a very tight space comparatively.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a lot of differing interests in that small of a geographic area, things have to remain, at least for appearances, civil, because otherwise it all breaks down. I mean, the alliance
You know,
alone
it's
was there.
incredible hearing the phrase 10 children is a very tight space out of context.
God damn it.
Maki, you derailed my thought process. Congratulations. But as I was saying, you have to keep up the appearance of civility. Otherwise, everything devolves into brutality.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that historically, during times even of war in medieval Japan, courtesy and decorum were still very important. In the same case here, these guys are all like, first they acknowledge, oh, if we allow, Eastern Alecrast to march on us, we're all doomed, so we at least have to stand up behind each other. But also, they tend to keep some very civil, in some cases, almost too high of civil lenience. Hello, slavery still existing in at least one city-state. In the end, there are numerous paths you could take in this particular part of the world to explore ideas and concepts that each city-state really provides, from survival in harsh harsh wilderness, such as with primacy, or survival or fighting existential threats that aren't necessarily other parts of the continent, such as the pirate raids, to fighting internal organizations that really just want to control the whole place, such as the fucking Thieves Guild.
Yeah.
So there's a wealth of potential adventures, both combat and not, jam-packed into this very small and dense geographic area.
Something else that I couldn't help but notice is I didn't see a whole lot of representation of sorcerers guilds. In addition, and I'm not saying the sorcerers guilds don't exist there; they clearly do. I just think they don't have as much pull as they do in the rest of Alecrast. And if anything, it seems like spirit magic is more prominent than ancient magic within 10 children. And something else that I find interesting with this particular place, I would say, is the diversity of environment, even in such a small area, because you have, and this is part of the reason why I was reminded of North America, because you have within the North American continent, you have an incredibly diverse set of biomes. Hell, even in my own state, you have a strong diversity of biome. That's part of the reason why the weather is so random around here.
Yep.
Because you essentially have plains, forest, and wetlands. Which means you have two different levels of moisture in the atmosphere. So, are there hotter places? Yeah. Are there colder places? Yeah. But there's a lot of jumping. Hence my saying, if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes.
Yep. That's the same.
That's what we say down here too.
Well, here it's wait 5 minutes, but it's also because Mother Nature is on drugs specifically in my state.
Yeah. But I think the other thing is, and I skimmed over it, but there's a decent amount of villainous organizations to work with. The Thieves Guild is one of them. the Grim Reapers as essentially a unofficial guild of assassins being another, and plenty of wild areas that are a case of someone in the ancient magic civilization fucked around with things that they shouldn't be fucking around with and found out.
It'd be pretty boring if we didn't have the people who faffled.
Mhm. But given that you mentioned Rokugan, could you see each of the 10 children as equivalent to one of the, not equivalent in a one-to-one basis, but in a similar vibe to the Great Clans? I'm not saying it's one-to-one. There's most certainly no equivalent to the Scorpion Clan here. But in terms of each having their own particular theme, their own particular identity.
Yeah. There absolutely is a difference in identity for all 10 of the cities.
And this is the point in time where I do have to roast the grogs, because it is always hilarious when I see people jump onto 1.0 thinking that they can apply AD&D or BX D&D logic to this setting. And they end up being reminded very quickly that, yeah, you can do that, but the amount of ways you can do that is extremely limited. And if you're one of those folks who's like, I just want to build my own setting using the rules. We already have that with Farland, but you'll find that the rules aren't as malleable as you want them to be. Of course, if I'm being honest, a lot of people who are saying that kind of thing, I don't even think they're running. I think they're just in love with the idea of running.
Yeah.
We already established a couple weeks ago that you cannot apply the logic of the world's most litigious role-playing game, regardless of edition, to Alecrast.
Nope.
Nope.
This has far more. This is why I did my victory lap when I found out that that Rio was drawing a lot more upon Lord of the Rings and RuneQuest.
RuneScape?
Not Planescape. RuneQuest. This is nowhere near weird enough to be adjacent to Planescape.
You said RuneScape.
But
Sorry, that was my bad.
It's all good.
But with that said, when we come back to this in 2 weeks, we will not be revisiting Alecrast, because a lot of the material is either locked up in books I don't have, or would involve going through replays, which I'm not keen on doing because that involves a lot of cross-referencing, and I like to keep things relatively compact. No, instead we are going south. Way south. Because
way down south.
In 2 weeks, we will be exploring the Accursed Isle. We'll be exploring Lodos, since that was folded into Sword World. And once again, I do have to call out Mugen Gaming. I love what they're planning on doing, but I do have to call out one inaccuracy that they keep fucking repeating, even as recent as a month ago. Lodos did not become Sword World. Anyone who tells you that is full of shit. Lodos and Sword World developed parallel to each other.
The little one is purring and she agrees.
I have to keep bringing that up because even on the pre-launch backer kit for the official 2.5 translation, they keep making that mistake. They keep saying it started with Lodos and then went to Sword World. That's not how that worked. You had them developed for separate audiences at the time. Lodos only folded into Sword World during the TCG bubble because Sword World was still commanding a reliable audience, whereas the Lodos Companion book, not so much. The Guarded by Cardia YouTube channel has a video going into significantly more detail than I can. I know some people bring up that William SRD video, but he was fucking wrong too.
They're all fucking wrong.
I understand William wanting to be an entertainer when it comes to this sort of thing, but being an entertainer is not an excuse on getting things inaccurate, especially in that position where people are going to be parroting what you say. For the longest time, Sword World didn't even have a defined setting until we just had some bits and pieces in the original 3 core books. Then we get the world guide that helps codify things. Oh. Now, for a lot of you, your main exposure to Lodos is going to be the OVA or the 26 episode anime. Let me assure you that is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the world of Lodos, and that is something we will be exploring.
It is, in fact, just the tip.
Yes.
God damn it, man.
Yeah.
And I do want to thank the Lodos translation team for translating a lot of the novels, because the only one we have officially translated is The Grey Witch. You know, the first book. None of the prequel books from Legend of Lodos, and none of the New Generation books that were a sequel to Record of Lodos. I've also translated a bunch of the Louis the Rune Soldier books, which that is the anime we got out of that is also the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of Rune Soldier novels, even as recently as a few years ago. And obviously I'm not going to be doing read parties of the novels. I don't have that kind of time yet. Might be something I revisit in the future. But we will be looking into 3 eras of Lodos when we return in 2 weeks with that. Next week, however, will be the return of Fated Continuum as Zan and I delve into Final Fantasy V.
Traveling to 3 different worlds, people, and we're fighting a giant tree!
Mm-hmm. A very extreme thing to do. Seriously, I can't believe that was a name that was considered at one point. It was the 90s, folks. But until then, as always, a sincere thanks to everyone for taking the time out of their schedule to tune in. And we will see you all in 2 weeks for the continuation of the Record of Sword Forged Worlds. So, mind taking us home, Zan?
But of course, once again, we peruse these records of these Sword-Forged worlds, and as always, we hope that your adventures are grand and your treasures myriad.
Stay frosty.
See you on the trail.
Until next time.
Namo Join